Hello, good evening. I'm Oral Gibbes, and welcome to Oral Gibbes Live. With me this evening, I have this gentleman. He is no stranger to us. He's none other than Mr. Joe, better known as Ras Bushman. And with us for the first time, we have attorney at law, Mr. Lorne, and welcome to both of you.
Greetings and blessings
Ja, Rastafari, Selassie, blessings.
every time.
Well, it's good to have you both here. I'm going to start first with you, Bushman, and tell us a little bit about what you're doing and your invitation to Mr. Lorne to be on the island.
Okay, we give thanks and praise that the Most High God give us strength to fulfill the 16th annual tribute to Marcus Garvey, that we bring Dr. Julius Garvey, the son of Honorable Marcus Garvey, and we bring our beloved brother Miguel Lorne to be the main speakers and to edify the people and more about our race. That's why we call it Rise Your Mighty Race. That's why now I really give thanks that we can be with you, Oral Gibbes, to lead the people themselves here, what my brother Lorne have to say.
All right. I know you've been doing a lot in the last years in trying to enlighten our people and the struggle and so forth.
We have no other choice. Somebody has to do it now. I mean, if we give thanks that we can be living sacrifice for our people in this time and for generation to come, because what you do now, you ain't getting no pay in this time. It's when you're not here more, then the blessings flow in.
All right. And you brought along Mr. Lorne. Mr. Lorne, welcome to St. Martin.
Yes, glad to be here. And the people have made me feel welcome,
Yeah.
Apart those who came to the celebration of the 128th birthday of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. They really made us feel that we have made a contribution. Those who have listened to us on the air and so on, we feel particularly good to be amongst our own people. And a good teacher is also a good student. I've learned a lot in the past couple of days that I've been here in terms of the complexities of this island and the struggle for liberation here. So I have slowly understanding it. And so now when I speak to people here in St. Martin, initially I would speak to them as brothers and sisters, but now I speak to them more as a family. And the difference is that I now feel that I am part of the struggle for liberation here, just as much as what our brothers and sisters are doing here is part of our struggle that we are carrying out in Jamaica and in the many other areas for black dignity and black glory.
Now, it's quite interesting that you mentioned that, because I am one of a number of people on this island that over the last 20 years has been supporting a move towards political independence for St. Martin. But we have a large number of people who, for whatever reason, are afraid or always refer to Haiti and what Haiti has become in terms of intimidating people to look and move on towards self-determination. And I know you come from an independent country, Jamaica. You all celebrate how many years now?
53.
53.
Yes.
And
Got independence in 1962.
I'd like to ask you this.
Yes.
If you had to have a referendum in Jamaica tomorrow and ask the Jamaicans if they would like to go back to British rule, you think they'll vote for it?
That's a very good question. It would be a fair answer would be that we might be surprised to find about 50-50.
Really?
Yes, it's that bad. And it has become worse within the last 10 years, mainly because the type of political leadership that we have had in Jamaica has not placed a lot of value on self-worth and self-dignity. And as a result of that, we now have a lot of people in Jamaica, black people, that are bleaching their skin, using chemicals to look browner and browner. Some of them are using all sort of pigmentation to thing, and so on. So we do find that we are up against it in trying to let people realize and understand the greatness of the African race and the things that we have achieved and the things that we have given to mankind and to civilization. And this is why the Honorable Marcus Garvey is probably more important now than 1920s, 100 years ago, because the things that are happening now is frightening in terms of us regressing, even in Jamaica, the land that has produced people like Garvey, Bob Marley, Paul Bogle, Sam Sharp, Taki, many great and brilliant freedom fighters who gave their lives to the struggle.
Sometimes I wonder what's happening because, you know, I studied in the United States of America, lived there for a short while. And I noticed even right now in America, with a black man in the White House, there are actually more police murders of black people in America. We see throughout the Caribbean, you mentioned just a while ago about the leaders in Jamaica and how they treat the citizens. And we see that throughout the Caribbean. So there seems to be a problem somewhere when it comes to black people and black leadership.
Absolutely. The inferiority complex is strong. Our people just don't behave, they just don't walk with the power and dignity that people like the Honorable Marcus Garvey would like to see us strive towards. We just don't exude that power, you know. And I think it has a lot to do with the educational system. Our educational system don't teach the children in school that the greatness of Timbuktu. It doesn't teach that it was an African, El Kazim, who invented the zero. Look at the importance of the zero. You put it before a letter, it makes a big difference. You put it at the end of a letter, it makes a big difference, right. Especially your paycheck. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but we don't teach these things in school. We don't teach of the pyramids, the building of the pyramids that even now, with all the modern methods, they can't fathom how it was built. We built the aqueducts. When we built churches in Lalibela in Ethiopia, from the ground down. That's how important we take our spirituality. When we were building, like we say, universities at Luxor and all over, yeah. You know, Alexander had to burn the libraries twice so as to seek to wipe out our black history when he invaded Africa. So we need to control our educational system in all of these islands. And we need, when we control it now, to create the type of syllabus that will ensure that our children graduate from primary school, prep school, high school, colleges, feeling proud to be black.
But you know, when you look at what's happening, because you know, Jamaica, independent country, I think about...
Yeah, but careful of this independent.
Yeah.
It might be so on paper, but the reality, the constitutional head of Jamaica is the Queen of England still. Right. No, that's bad. Our final appellate court is the Privy Council in England still, even though the Privy Councillors, judges, have said it in their judgments that it is time. In other words, we are a burden on them.
But isn't it that...
And yet we still hang on to them.
But isn't that
the courts every day in Jamaica, the courts are opened in the Queen's name.
But
God save the Queen.
But Mr. Lord, when you look at former British territories, I think there's only one or two who does not recognize the Queen as head of state.
Right, you're correct. Even when they gain independence. Yeah. So there is that feeling that you are not somebody if you don't hang on to the skirt tail of Europe. So in Jamaica, they hang on to the skirt tail of the Queen. St. Martin hanging on to the skirt tail of Holland and so on. Other countries hang on to the skirt tail of Spain. Some hang on to the skirt tail of France. There's that feeling, and consequently, it trickles down to our people that if you were to build a bridge between Jamaica and the United States and abolish visa, I can assure you that very few people would be left. That's so unfortunate.
Yeah.
And persons like myself, Brother Bushman and others, you know, that have been struggling over the years. Just to give you an idea, some years ago, about 20 years ago, my family play chess. We play a lot of chess. And one of my daughters at a age group tournament in Puerto Rico, in the under 10 category, one of my daughters at the time, Miguel Lorne, she was 7 years old. And she beat the American representative, who was 10 years old. She beat her in 7 moves.
Wow.
Now I use it as an example to say, at that young age, brain for brain, they cannot match us. See if you understand.
Right, yeah.
Later on, when opportunities are greater, their schools and they have better facilities, better labs, better conditions, you know what I mean?
Right.
That can produce the scientists, you know,
Right.
build the type of engineering machinery, the type of experiments that they can carry out, the type of equipment that they have. They will excel over us. But at the natural state, brain for brain, we have always said, we will beat you in 7 moves.
Wow. But, you know, you are an attorney.
Yes.
And when people see you as an attorney and they see you as a Rastaman, do they react different to you? Or?
It's 36 years now.
Mm.
And, oh yes, you still have it's much less in Jamaica now because we have several other Rastafarians who are dreadlocks now, male and female. So it's get much less. Oh, but when we started out, there were times when I was going into court when the police would stop me. You know, and I would just patiently ease off his hand and so on.
Uh-huh.
But we understand the struggle. The first time I came to St. Martin, I'm walking on the road, and I was picked up in a police car and taken to the police station.
In St. Martin?
In St. Martin, and searched. I asked, I said, what are you looking for? He said, looking for marijuana. I said, but I was on my way from Antigua to Jamaica.
Uh-huh.
I missed the flight, but my luggage was booked straight through to Jamaica. I came at 9 o'clock in St. Martin. I went into town and we couldn't get back in time. Didn't know the traffic was so bad. This was the 11th of February 1985. And so I missed the flight. Mm-hmm. And the next flight was the 14th of February. And I just walked in the afternoon, in the evening, and police just stopped, searched me, put me in the car, took me to the station, searched again. Then they took me to the guest house. I was staying at Lucy's guest house. Lady name is Lucy. They searched the guest house. And then they simply said, oh, sorry, sir, we must have had the wrong information. I said, but what information could you have? I don't even have any luggage. I don't have an next pants. I don't have a next shirt. My luggage went straight through, so what bad information could you have? That was what happened. You know, so I'm accustomed to that. I went to Tortola to do a case, and the Prime Minister, the Premier, what do you call him? Ralph, what was his last name again? Ellis or something like that. Personally, along with his other son, came to the airport to ensure that I went back on the plane and didn't land, simply because I went to represent a family, a skeleton family, a very proud black family that was fighting some white people there over land in Tortola. And they didn't want a Rastafarian to represent the family. The head of the family was a Garveyite. He was part of the UNIA in New York, and he especially wanted somebody along that line to fight the battle. He had gotten other lawyers before from other Caribbean countries, but he could sense when they were not with him. And he asked me to come. I went, no problem. And then by the time I was going back, they passed a law in Tortola that no Rastafarians who is not born there cannot enter. But it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with preventing me from coming back into Tortola. And on our way over, from St. Martin, we came from Jamaica, Tortola, to St. Martin and going over to Tortola, the plane, one of the engines developed a gas leak. So we could see the leak coming out. In other words, it could explode any time.
Right.
So the mercy of Jah Rastafari, we landed safely. Yet the Prime Minister and company came and insist that the pilots take me on that plane out of the country, because he felt that I had done I had convinced the pilots to put up a story. And the pilots tried to explain to him, no, the pilot, it was an airline named Premier Airline.
I remember Premier, yeah.
All right. So they were based in Puerto Rico.
Right.
They spoke Spanish. I spoke English. So we had a communication problem. So they now asked the Prime Minister if they could radio their base in Puerto Rico to tell them what is happening. So the night was saved when the company agreed to send a plane from Puerto Rico for me, because they couldn't put me back on the sick plane. That would be breaching all aviation rules. And they sent a plane for me from Puerto Rico. I didn't know that when a plane, you had to put sandbags in it to give the plane weight. It has to have a certain amount of passengers. So I thought I could go in and choose any seat. They said, no, sandbags is in those seats. And so they took me to Puerto Rico, and the pilots were able to lock off that engine that was leaking and fly their plane behind my plane to go. So those are the struggles that we go through as Rastafari and as black people. And, you know, I have experienced quite a lot. And that has fortified me. And I think that has made me that I can speak with some amount of fluency, some amount of fluidity, and some amount of authority now. And so on. I have one daughter who's a lawyer in Canada, and I have 2 sons studying law in Jamaica. So as soon as they graduate, I can have more time to come here and so many other places.
How long have you been practicing law?
36 years.
Oh, this is quite a while. And you study at the University
of West Indies, graduated from the Norman Manley Law School. But I like the situation here, especially the struggle for independence at this time.
Yeah. But Simran is a unique case. And I don't know if you look at Simran when he was here in 1987, when you had 85, and today in 2015.
Oh, leaps and bounds. Leaps and bounds, man.
Really?
Leaps and bounds. 30 years.
Yeah.
There's big difference. Big difference. And just even the attitude of the people.
Yeah.
Much warmer, much greater, more beautiful. Yes. Some of the most beautiful women here, man.
Yeah, we have a lot of Jamaicans on Simran.
Yes.
And I must say they're some of my most loyal viewers, Jamaicans, because they're very conscious. They're politically conscious, socially conscious of what's going on. So they like to watch a program like this, and I always say they're my biggest fans. But we have really a lot of Jamaicans here.
Yes, and in 85 we didn't have that much when I passed through here at that time. Again, because of the poor leadership in Jamaica, that the economy has not grown. It has regressed. The country has not moved, our listeners must understand that. And that has given rise now, within the past 30 years, that many Jamaicans, in order to gain employment, to seek a job, come to a lot of the Caribbean islands. We now have much more Jamaicans in Tortola, St. Thomas, St. Martin, St. Lucia, Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana. A lot of Jamaicans have gone to many Caribbean islands because, as you know, it's much more difficult to go to America and so on. So they come here, and many of them are quite industrious. They want to work hard, and they would have stayed in Jamaica if they could have gotten a living wage for their work. Yeah. But the poor leadership in Jamaica, no matter what you hear about, even when we had Manley and all of those people, Portia Simpson Miller, who is very charismatic and so on, but they are ruled by the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, dictate our policies in Jamaica.
But isn't that a
World
problem
Bank
for most countries? Because if you look at what happened even right now in Greece, where the IMF, for the first time, a European country, had to go under similar conditions. It seems if you have debt, that becomes a huge problem for any country.
Yes, but Greece, it's not a good example, you know, because Greece has now gotten its 3rd bailout.
Right.
Which of these people are going to give we in the Caribbean a 3rd bailout?
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Kith and kin. You know, white and white. If Greece need 5 bailouts or 10 bailouts, they're going to get it. They're going to get it. Despite all the talk and the stringent conditions, they're going to get it. But when we are in such situation, they tighten the screws on us. And if you You couple those multinational organizations, World Bank, IMF, and so, and the stringent conditions that they put on us, that will forever keep us poor. That's the reality. We cannot pay back those debts.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mr. Lord, because, and correct me here, there was a time when, I don't want to call the country name, but one or two countries subsidized certain products. And by subsidizing those products, they were imported into Jamaica. And a lot of Jamaican farmers, et cetera, and so forth, could not compete. And after a while, I understand that it made it extremely difficult for them to compete.
Happening now. It's happening now because I go to the biggest market in the Caribbean, the Coronation Market. I've been going there from I'm little, and right now that's where I buy my food every Saturday. And a country like Jamaica, you find foreign peas, red peas.
Wow.
You know, we love peas because, you know, rice and peas is important to Jamaica. Red peas, onion, tomatoes, cauliflower, broccoli, and I can go on, are things that can be grown easily in Jamaica are now being imported in Jamaica. And like you say, a lot of it comes from the United States and Canada and so on, because in those countries, their farm, it's subsidized.
Right.
So it comes into Jamaica much cheaper. If our people don't understand, our people will say, look, it's coming all the way from America, but it's cheaper than what our farmers is selling it for. They can't sell it any cheaper. So it's unless you're patriotic like a man like me, you know, who'll make sure that I'm going to buy carrot grown in Jamaica, onion, scallion, thyme, garlic, grown in Jamaica, not to mention potato and all of these things. Plus I'm a fiber man. I love my fibers, my yam, my dasheen, my bananas, and so on. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So if our people don't understand these things, they will say, look, our farmers are bad because they are producing the thing at $100 a pound when the one from America is selling for $80 a pound.
But they don't realize the American government is subsidizing
It and causing it much cheaper, and so on. So these are the things that we must educate our people on. It's absolutely important that we feed ourselves. Look how near St. Martin is to Jamaica, a 2-hour flight. And we should have boats, ships coming. We have a surplus of a lot of food in Jamaica that we could sell to St. Martin at a much cheaper price and better quality food too.
Well, the
than you're
pesticides.
getting now.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right.
Natural food and so on. You know, that we should have boats coming. There must be things that St. Martin have that can send up to us. You know what I mean? When you do have goods, you have services, you have, but we're not looking at inter-island trading. Everything you look to Paris, New York, Rome, London. That's how we have, or Holland.
Not only that, if you look,
you have been focused.
And if you look at the Caribbean region, actually, I can get on a plane and fly to Florida for $375, and Antigua next door, where my mother was born, it's a lot more money.
Yes.
So,
yes, the whole thing is deliberate.
Yeah.
Because one time Garnham used to tell you it's based on distance, just like with telephone. They used to tell you that when you're calling Australia, it's more expensive than when you're calling. So, and it's now that we have a little sense and we realize the cyberspace, you know.
It go up, come down, it doesn't matter.
You know what I mean? It doesn't recognize distance, you know. And all of a sudden we realize that phone bills are coming down when they used to send it up because of all of that. So we get a little wiser now. But the reality of it is that we must use this wisdom to support each other, to find ways and means to encourage our economies to become stronger. Because when we are dependent on their economy, that's a guaranteed market, you know.
Right.
And that's guaranteed income for them. When that income could have circulated amongst us and better able to grow our economy.
Let me ask this, Sir Lord, because when you look at, you know, I've been doing television for 32 plus years now. I've been in broadcasting 38 years. I started in New York, came back to St. Martin, and felt that the biggest problem on this island was information to our people. Now, 32 years later, I look back and it's like nothing has really changed. And when I look at the global situation of black people, and I will come closer, say the Caribbean and United States of America, what you're seeing is that, yes, we have a number of us becoming lawyers, doctors, engineers, but the majority of black people seems to be in a state of no progress at all. And I wonder sometimes, because sometimes we tend to blame other people for our problems instead of looking at what we are doing to make sure that our situation change. And to me, I'm kind of disappointed because I'm not really seeing the kind of change, positive change in the masses of black people that I expected when I was a younger man.
You ought not to be disappointed. And let me give you a classic example. Rastafari. Rastafari rise up in the Caribbean, initially in Jamaica, in the 1930s. And there are many persons, now it's 2015, 85 years later, and there are many persons who would say, look, Rastafari should be at a certain level at this stage with the level of black consciousness and so on, you know, and with reggae music and other things that we have developed to ground our economic base and so forth. But when you look at other world philosophies, whether it be Buddhism, Baha'i, Zoroastrianism, Confucianism, Islam, Christianity, and you compare the stages that those philosophies and movements were at after 85 years, and you compare where Rastafari is at after 85 years, we are way ahead of all of them. And I can say that proudly. Because after 85 years within Christianity, they had not even settled on their Godheadship. After 85 years in Islam, they had not worked out their doctrinal position. We have settled all of that. We hail Haile Selassie as the returned Redeemer. We hail him knowing that he is a descendant of Dinkanesh. Dinkanesh is the oldest fossil found in the world, and that from the Nile Valley civilization, all civilizations have come. And out of that, we now have a Redeemer who set the standards for us. That is settled. Our colors, red, gold, and green, is settled. Our way of life, in that we abhor the killing of things and so on, and that the more we eat ital, it's better for our health, those are settled. The way our sisters dress and all of that, not to try to be too lewd and all of that, and your head covered, those are settled doctrinal principles that we have after 85 years. So sometimes when we look at ourselves, we tend to be disappointed and say, look, we have made the progress. But you'd be amazed the level that we have reached, the amount of people. After I gave the talk, after the program yesterday, the amount of persons that stayed back asking questions because they didn't get the chance to ask those questions during the question and answer. Some who had points to point out things to me. Some who made statements to me. Brother Bushman here had to be begging people to leave. No, that is good. Very, very good. Because if they were not interested in the topic, they didn't just come and sit down and go. They wanted to make an input. They wanted to pass on certain knowledge to me. I wanted to pass on certain things to them. So, you know, it has grown tremendously, my brother. You know, I think now what we need to do is to seek to make the quantum leap to surpass that hurdle now, that we become masters of our destiny.
You see, because why I say that is I'm looking at the situation in the world in the last, say, 10 years. And when you look at most black states that are the leadership, the political leadership, exists of black people, we don't see the kind of stability that we see in other states. And for some reason to black on black crime, it's just incredible. And we're now, there's this whole thing that, yes, if you're poor, poverty gets violence. And I tend to want to disagree with that not because you're poor mean you have to resort to violence. And that's what we...
And I agree with you on that. Because in that case then, Haiti would have more crime than Jamaica. Because Haiti is supposed to be by far much poorer.
Right.
Zimbabwe, that they say is such a problem, would have more crime than Jamaica. In Jamaica, we average over 1,000 murders per year. In Zimbabwe, with a much bigger population, roughly 3 times, almost 4 times the size of Jamaica, they do not have 100 murders per year. So if it is poverty, Haiti similarly, you know what I mean? Haiti do not even have 200 murders per year. Yet Jamaica and Haiti has a bigger population and it's supposed to be much poorer. So it's not, the poverty and crime doesn't follow.
Exactly.
Support you 100%.
And the thing here is that what we need to do, because when you look at the struggle and the problems, you mentioned Jamaica, you can go on all even in cities in the United States. You know, it seems like there is some underlying problem still within the black community, not just here, but probably in the Americas, that we are not looking at or not aware of. Because I think that there's got to come a time when we have to, I mean, not prove to the world, but to ourselves that we can take care of our own affairs and be prosperous and successful in all things that we do. Because we used to be like that.
Oh, yes.
All civilization came from us.
Yes, yes. Ferguson is a good example.
Right.
A year ago, when Michael Brown was killed. But I maintain that these things have been going on in America. It never stopped. From the days of Jim Crowism, from the days of lynching, and so on. All that happened now is that because of cameras, whereby people are now taking out their camera and filming when a white police shoot a black man in the back 9 times. This has always been going on. But without the camera now, that police would have come and produced a gun and showed you that this man shot at him and that he shot him 9 times in the back in self-defense.
Right.
And that would go to court, and that officer would have been acquitted and be given a medal as a hero. That is what has happened, you know. So, but it has, in my view, it hasn't stopped. Because when I speak to people on a whole, and plus the few times I go there, you see signs of it, of the racism that seems to be inherent there. But over the years, most of our black leaders have been pretending. You know, you appoint Andrew Young as UN ambassador, you appoint a little black ambassador here and a little black ambassador there, and you take a churchman there, and they said, yes, man, black people have arrived. You even put a black man in the White House now. And look how much of our brothers and sisters are being killed. And I say, yeah, man, you have arrived. Eh? But what's the reality? Has the projects changed? No. The housing projects still there in America. Has the school system changed since Barack Obama became president? No. The school systems, blacks still go to the worst schools.
Right.
Blacks still, their schools don't get the subsidiaries and the labs and the things that will make those children better.
They're lacking textbooks and all those things. Yeah.
Definitely. Lacking resources. It hasn't changed. What about jobs? We still get the worst jobs and we are still the first to be fired. In other words, the structure hasn't changed. So we mustn't be fooled by a few cosmetic changes. We must understand the seriousness of the situation, and that putting a black man in the White House, unless he is a strong black man who is going to fight that status quo, who is going to fight that infrastructure, not much difference. I should also point out I'm a publisher too, you know.
Okay, all right. Tell us about
I have my own printery.
Really?
We print and publish books.
Okay, good.
Yes. So far, we have printed and published over 100 titles, black books, books that glorify the dignity of the black race. I also own a bookstore, Head Start bookstore, right in the heart of downtown Kingston. You know, I'm also the general secretary for the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party.
In Jamaica, they have a party like that? Yeah.
We have, it is a party formed by the Honorable Marcus Garvey in 1928.
Okay.
And a group of us have come together and we have reformed that party, we have restarted it, and we are going to be working to move towards state power.
So soon we will probably hear more about you soon.
Yes, but if I can lay the groundwork that the younger persons take it on and so on.
Yeah.
But because I realize you have to have political power to do many of the things that we're talking about. If we sit here and talk, and even when you have certain economic power and other little things, but if you don't have state power, political power, you can't bring about some of the changes that you really want to bring about.
Let me ask you, I listen sometimes to the late Marcus Garvey, and what a man he was. And I asked,
amazing.
What do you think he will do today if he was alive?
Well, looking at what he did then, you can get an idea what he would do today. When he was organizing for black people to return home to Liberia, he stated why he was doing it. He says, look, we will never be somebody in America. We will never be. He says, don't be fooled by the amendment to the Constitution. Those amendments are merely just to fool us. He says the mere fact that they drafted a Constitution and excluded us shows their mind. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there was a little amendment now to give you a little voting rights here and a little women's rights there. The Honorable Marcus Garvey was against that. He wanted us to live. He wanted black people in America to go home where we could invest our money, invest our knowledge, build cities, and be strong and powerful. C.B. King at the time, this is 1924, who was the president of Liberia, and who had agreed initially for the en masse movement of the Honorable Marcus Garvey and the UNIA people personnel, changed his mind when he was influenced by the President of the United States and the Firestone Rubber Company. And the lands that he gave to the Honorable Marcus Garvey, over 1 million acres, he took it back and gave it to the Firestone Rubber Company for them to plant rubber trees to make tires and rubber and the things of that nature. So we look at those things and we say, we think the Honorable Marcus Garvey would, one, see how best, at least for a time, that we can separate from them. He felt that as long as you're in their house, you're going to be, you can't decide what plate of food come on the table. And it is what is given to you, you're going to eat. You got to be the master of your house somewhere or the other, and so on. So I feel that's one thing that the Honorable Marcus Garvey would have done. Take it that we're living in some of their cities and so on. You look at what he did. He set up factories that were building black dolls, making black dolls, factories that were making uniforms, sewing clothes, things of that nature. They had laundromats, they had printing presses, they had restaurants, they had trucking companies, they owned land and so on. All of this was being done in New York, you know, by the UNIA, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. So self-reliance was a vital and important thing for the Garvey organization. Now, because a lot of people don't realize that when the Honorable Marcus Garvey was charged for mail fraud, later on when they raided the offices and found the books and examined the books and realized that the organization was turning over more than $5 million annually. Now, $5 million
in those days, a lot of money.
Whoa, 100 years later, that is exceeding 50 billion. In other words, it's a black organization. These were black people pool their resources together. And when Edgar Hoover realized that the organization was so strong, he then they had charged Honorable Marcus Garvey first as President General of the organization. He then charged the vice president, the treasurer, and the secretary. And the aim was now to destroy the organization. You see what I mean?
Right.
And on top of that, charged the Honorable Marcus Garvey for tax evasion. So if he had gotten off the mail fraud case, they would have held him on tax evasion. And this is where people have to understand the attempts that were made to cripple a successful and powerful organization.
That also happened in Oklahoma.
Yes.
Called back in 2018, 20 somewhere, where they burned and bombed that.
Yes. Yes.
See, where mostly black people had a very successful business operation taking place.
Yes. Yes.
So it seems like
A plan.
Yeah.
In other words,
Yeah.
you must be slaves or just a little above slavery. But we have had successes. And it's important to point out to our people that we have had successes.
And that we're capable of having more.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Because Dr. Julius Garvey made a point last night. He says that many places that he has gone all over the world, and when he comes across persons that say, look, my father was a Garveyite, my mother was a Garveyite, or I am a Garveyite, he said he noticed that all of those persons are successful business people.
In fact, you know, there's a number of Garveyites here in St. Martin.
This is what we discovered.
And also from the generations back in the early 1900s.
Yes.
And there was one, Mr. Melford Hazel. The hotel on Front Street is still there, CV Hotel. His grandson is now a member of the parliament here in St. Martin. So, you know, not just in Jamaica, but even right here in St. Martin, we had our Garveyites over the years.
Yes, and I've discovered that the more I travel throughout the Caribbean, I'm coming across persons in Antigua, in St. Vincent, who are proud to tell you that their father or their grandfather was a Garveyite and so on. And like I said, all of them have a dignified poise. They move with a certain amount of power. And I'm certain that is the great influence of the Honorable Marcus Garvey.
And this gentleman here, he is, I think right now, the biggest proponent of Garveyite movement in St. Martin. Every year, he makes sure to remind us, right?
You know, somebody have to do it now.
Yeah.
I have no choice, but it's a spirit to have me doing it. Like this year self, for me to get my brother Miguel Lorne and Dr. Julius Garvey here, it's like, you know, it just happened. Like, you know, that's why make me every day believe that, hey, who's just blessed, no one cursed. Because people say, hi, that Bushman, but it's something that to guide me to be blessed to come bring them here. And for what we did was successful.
Yeah, definitely. I got to congratulate you for that.
Yes.
And so, Mr.
And I should point out,
yes,
because I know for a fact that every year, especially at the 17th of, we're now doing this on the 17th of August, Honorable Marcus Garvey's birthday. And I know that every year at this time, Dr. Julius Garvey's hands are full with invitations from all over the world for him to speak. Previously, he was more the quieter one. He's another brother, Marcus Garvey Jr., and he used to be the one. He's like Garvey much more, fiery like him and so on and so forth. But he now has Alzheimer's, and that's how Julius has come to the fore. And I know at this time, we're not talking 5 or 10 invitations from almost every country in Africa, the Caribbean, black organizations in Europe that invite Dr. Julius Garvey at this time of the year. There are other times too, but especially at this time of the year, for him to come and participate in Garvey's celebrations. So if I know for a fact for him to choose St. Martin and for him to give his word to Bushman the way he did, and I know he follows his spirit a lot. It says a lot about Bushman, it says a lot about St. Martin, and he has even committed himself that he will return.
As a Caribbean man, and you said you've traveled all through the Caribbean, and I really was surprised and shocked to learn what happened to you in St. Martin in 1985, and I'm really sorry that it happened, you know, and I hope that it will never happen to you again. Now, this is the place, the island where I was born. I love this island. I've sacrificed everything for St. Martin, and I know that you love your country and the Caribbean. But what can we do?
Don't worry, the ombudswoman I'll be giving her a copy of my statement I wrote then, and I'm certain she'll be able to secure an apology that I will accept at this time.
Yes, because
I did go to Senator Waythree at the time, you know. At the time, I did speak with Waythree was a senator.
I can't remember.
I think his name is Waitley or Waythree or something like that.
Yeah,
I didn't get to speak to him directly, but his assistant also took a statement from me.
I think
much came of it.
I think we owe you an official apology in St. Martin.
Yes, I'd love that.
Yeah, I think, and I think I'm gonna also talk to officials, because what happened to you at that time was really, it's not the St. Martin that I know. You know, and I think that we need to take care of everyone, you know, not looking at the outward appearance. And I think that would happen because you're being
dreadlock Rastafarian.
Right, that happened.
And I self as a Rastafarian on St. Martin, you know, it's now things more because you get a lot of fashion dread coming in, you know. But as a Rastafarian, you get a lot of discrimination. They try to victimize you, you know, for nothing, just because you're different.
Yeah.
You choose to be different. You understand?
Exactly, and it shouldn't be at all.
No.
Yeah.
It's my love for everybody. That's why Marcus say, one God, one aim, one destiny.
You know, when you look at St. Martin as a person on the outside looking in, something, you know, sometimes because we live here, like myself and Ras Bushman, we really can't see things the way a person like you coming from the outside can see things. And I know it's probably difficult for me to ask you this, but I'd like you to be honest with me on this. I'm sure there are things you've seen that you don't like, that maybe you want to share with us that we can improve on, because sometimes it's good to hear the honest opinion from someone from the outside, seeing what we're doing to help us improve our situation.
Symbols are important. Symbols, the African know the greatness of using the proper symbols. Mm. And if you notice the Adinkra symbols from Ghana and many other symbols that we use, I noticed quite a lot of the streets have Dutch names, named after people that I think who have never been here.
People don't even know who they are.
Definitely. So it would be nice if we start changing the names of some of the streets and some of the places that you know. There must be great people that this country has produced over the years, outstanding persons that we can honor by renaming the city, by renaming the towns, by renaming the districts, by renaming the streets, and of course renaming the airport. You know what I mean?
Right.
Things like those, it might look like a small step, but it's a very important step. Because in fact, we might be naming persons who themselves did great harm to our people.
I must add this very quickly here, though. There will be a firestorm with any attempt to rename the airport in St. Martin.
we can like in this time, with the manager director, we got a powerful woman like Regina La Vega. Hey, we never know, one day we can call it Impress Regina La Vega International Airport.
I would love to see that, but...
Look, talking about it, it's a manifestation already.
But we got to be realistic. You know why? Have you met Dr. Arundel? She was the Minister of Culture, Sports. Rhoda Arundel. I don't know if you met her.
No, he met her yet.
Well, you should meet this lady. And she, when she was minister, she proposed to have St. Martin, someone on this island, write a national anthem, because we don't have a national anthem. What we have is a song that we call the St. Martin song that was written by a Roman Catholic priest from Europe many years ago. You know, if you look back at the history of St. Martin, many of our people could not read and write. And this gentleman wrote a very beautiful song. Many of us in St. Martin, most of us love this song, but there are people like myself who are saying there's time for a national anthem. You know what happened? She was ridiculed by her own people. So that's why I said just a while ago, the mere thought, and I never thought about that, what you said a while ago, to rename the airport, which I'm all for, it will set off a firestorm in this. I don't think no one in the right mind really want to even think about that. But I appreciate that you mentioned it.
Yes, you know, these we could, and why I say that things like that doesn't cost any economic, you know, many times when you make suggestions to government, the first thing they tell you, you can't afford it. So this wouldn't cost them any money at all to start. But, and it would be a way of putting our own people on a pedestal. It would make our children now start to see that, look, you know, my grandfather is somebody.
Right.
My grandmother is being recognized. You know what I mean?
Right.
It would mean so much more for the dignity and growth of the people, you know, rather than, like you say, some people from Holland that nobody here knows, and not even the person from Holland even has never been here.
Yeah.
So things like that, small as it is a big step towards asserting our identity and dignity. Now, in all of these islands that I've been to, I tend to pop by the libraries. I tend to pop by the courthouse as a lawyer just to see how it is set up and so on. And all of these islands have a history of struggle. They have produced persons and so on. I didn't know that you had the Negmaho, that's what they call them in St. Lucia, the Negmaho Black Maroons in St. Lucia, who fought up at the Morn and fought, you know, the British and all of them. So I am certain the history here, over the years, there must have been some great and outstanding freedom fighters here in St. Martin who gave their blood that me and you can be sitting talking on television and dress up the way we do and go on like we're a big thing, you know what I mean, and so on. It is those ancestors, you know, that probably never had another shot, and with him cutlass and him spear, fought the Bakramasa and caused that liberation. I would love for us to honor them, not for me to go and search, and if I don't go to the library, I don't know who it is. But in other words, every turn I turn, and I see you have started, because I see, for example, the salt diggers have been respected at the airport that I've been to. I went and I see some other statues which show our people working. Very good. It's a great start. But I'd love also to see some of the freedom fighters, who some of who were hanged, some of whom were imprisoned, some of who were shot and killed, that their names be placed. If it's even to have wall plaques, something we have started in Jamaica. You can build a beautiful wall plaque, and you said, look, in 1830, these are the names of those who were executed. These are the names of those who took up arms against the system, and so on. I'd love to see a little more of that, because you'd be amazed how much it would give the present generation now, who come from that lineage, dignity and power.
We are out of time. I just want to give you 15 seconds in closing, and then Bushman.
We give thanks, you know, unto the Most High Jah Rastafari. I give thanks for your program. I give thanks for our people and our listeners. And we ask that as we march forward, never you think of anyone below you. And whatever you can do to raise our brothers and sisters, and that together, arms in arms, we can restore the greatness of the black race.
Okay, and
well, one thing I can say is, you know, respect, give thanks for being here, and, you know, we have a long way to go, but, you know, the struggle, we never can stop fighting the struggle till when our generations to come, maybe third, fourth, fifth, you know, well, for them to see better days, but we always got to keep the fire blazing, yeah?
all right. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks. All right. That is for now. See you next time. Till then, good night. Take care. Bye.